Hi, it's Andy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Welcome to the ADK Rock and Metal channel. Today we're today we are doing Break It Down and Pulling Apart. That is where we
La,
take
la,
a
la, la,
song and a
la.
band and we rip it to pieces. We break it into 1 minute sections. We go away, watch the videos, and come back to you with our thoughts about the band and song in 1 minute sections. So today's band is a band called Sleep. The song is Dragonaut. It came off the 1992 album of Holy, or was it off of Holy Mountain?
Sleep's Holy Mountain. I think it's
Sleep
called.
Holy Mountain, or just referred to as Holy Mountain. They are listed as Stoner Doom and are mainly spearheaded, or they are listed as one of the bands that created the genre of Stoner Doom, which I think we're going to pretty much based on this song. I'd be surprised if we actually agree to that because I'm not. I'm sure as hell not going to say they invented Stoner Doom, but they came out in 1990. And so this came out one of their like early sort of stuff, so 1992s. We're going to play you the first minute and see if you can guess what we're going to say after the first minute of this song. Over to you at home. Okay, so Black Sabbath then.
Thanks for joining us on the video. If you've enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, there we go, done. Okay, let's try and be a little bit more honest about it. So look, it's without just saying Black Sabbath. I mean, it's basically taking the blues tones from the 1970s, and this is where bands like Corrosion of Conformity of Massive were also took their stone. So when you talk about Stoner Doom, stuff like that, and Stoner Rock, Corrosion of Conformity are a massive part of that. So when Sleep get turned around in 1990s, and you're thinking, okay, well, it's Corrosion of Conformity mid 90s with their big breakout albums like Deliverance and stuff like that would also be in there. It's basically it's blues rock. It's not as heavy metal. It is Sabbath. I mean, it basically it's Aussie era Sabbath from the 70s. At this point, do you know what I find about this sort of music? It's far more fun to play it than it is to listen to it. So as a drummer, these sort of drum beats are really great fun to play. Even riffs are like dun, 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 dun. They're great things to play on guitar. Watching it, you're like, okay, yeah. It's just great fun to be in this band. It's Sleep is a great way of talking about what your audience are doing watching this at this point in time for me. I'm just not vibing on it. But Andy, your thoughts?
Bands like Sleep, Electric Wizard, Orange Goblin. As someone who absolutely loves Doom, I've never gone into this Stoner Doom genre very much at all. Maybe because it's centers around drugs, which I don't like or indulge in. But yeah, I've noted down it's sort of like the non-Doom elements of 70s Sabbath. You know, the sort of more experimental sort of moments as well brought into this first minute or so. Um, yeah, nothing more really to add. I mean, it certainly hasn't done enough for me to get into Stoner Doom, but it's an
Yeah.
enjoyable track, and I completely agree. You pick up a guitar and you probably think, yeah, this is a sort of cool, simple riff to just sort of vibe along to.
It's a vibe. It's a jam track.
Yeah,
It felt like a jam. That first minute just felt like they're just jamming out and having fun with it in the studio.
yeah.
Kirk?
1971 is a landmark year for heavy metal because Black Sabbath released 2 albums in 1 year, Paranoid and Master of Reality. It's obviously a landmark for Sleep, the members of this band as well, because they just decided we're going to write a song that just sounds like Black Sabbath and nobody else. Although I am being unfair, there are some experimental moments. How cool is that wah effect on the bass? So,
But again, Geezer Butler did that. Geezer Butler's
yeah,
done
he
that.
didn't use the war, but no, actually, he did, didn't he? On
He
Rats
has,
Out,
yeah, he has on the certain albums, on the later ones.
It's basically the blues in the 1990s are just like they were in the 1970s, weren't they? With a fuzzy guitar tone. But Black Sabbath were doing this and tuning down to C in 1971. So it's just hard to say anything constructive really here, isn't it? I mean, if I was stoned, I mean, I'm not a stoner. I don't think have you ever had a joint? Probably not. Yeah.
I so want to see you on a joint. Sorry.
Yeah.
Would be so funny.
I think if I was drunk, when I used to have long hair as a teenager, you were at a party and you sat down, you just nodding your head and Chaos, a Fu Manchu or something like that's playing. That's the vibe I'm getting here. But when I saw that it was 6 minutes, it was like, oh, when you breathe in, you roll your eyes like, here we go. So let's go to the next part. See if we can find anything positive.
Okay, I'm going to play the next 2 minutes for you because I don't think we can break it down by minute with this sort of music. So we're going to give you 2 minutes. This is minutes 1 to minute 3 for you at home. Okay, so we are getting a bit more. So we're getting vocals at this point. It is Sabbath. He doesn't sound exactly like Ozzy, but you can tell he's been influenced by the Ozzy vocal delivery. He's not got exactly the same tone, but he doesn't sound like a lot of the other guys. But it's in that same tonality and rhythmic style that he's delivering it in. So it does make it just sound like Sabbath. If he'd gone like heavy growls or something, it might have made it sound a bit different to Sabbath. But he's singing within that same sort of range as Ozzy did. As it went on, to me, I was like, if I didn't know better, I would just think it was a cover song of a Sabbath song. So I got to 2 minutes in, and I'm like, is this a cover or something? Is this? I have to search Black Sabbath Dragonaut because I'm like, surely this is just a Black Sabbath cover that they've put on the album or something, and I've just misread this because there is no way they're classing this as original composition. And then I'm like, but surely. And then I started looking at it, went, maybe people at the time said they were a Black Sabbath clone. I'm like, oh no, they got signed up for originality. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, really? How did labels sign these people up and say these are the originators of Stoner Doom? I'm like, no, it was no. Surely you have to say Sabbath then is, and we would all say that Sabbath were the originators of that genre. Surely, maybe not Stoner, but early Doom. So I don't get the big difference. I did like. I'm going to say something I did like the black and white raw studio footage. I thought that looked actually quite cool because it was a bit grainy. It was a bit different. So I did quite like the video shot that they used. But musically at this point, I'm like, oh, please do something soon, some sort of change soon, because I know I'm only 3 minutes in here, but I've got those out. I've got all the early Sabbath albums, and if I want to listen to Sabbath, I'll go listen to Sabbath. I don't really want to listen to a band that sounds like a tribute band to Sabbath. Andy?
I'm glad you've put sort of this section as minute 1 to 3, because 2 to 3 is exactly this. I'll just put same as for the first section.
No.
So there is a good guitar riff at 1 minute 20, which I enjoyed, but vocally, I've noted down he's more 70s Bobby Liebland from Pentagram, maybe the guy from Acid Bath, Kirk. I don't know what his name is.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of vocal and sort of comparisons I made there. It might just be my playback, but does the video not seem synced? It seems to be headbanging too fast for the tempo of the song. And
yeah, it doesn't quite sync up properly.
There's that classic that I pick up a lot, where the vocalist moves away from the mic, but he hasn't finished the vocal line.
Yeah, I don't think it was very well synced up.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I've got to add at this stage.
Kirk?
Yeah, Stoner Doom music's all about mood. Image and charisma are absolutely irrelevant because it's non-existent, isn't it? Once you've heard one album, you've heard them all in this genre. It's just pure Black Sabbath worship. But the drummer does play some interesting beats. Is he coming in on the downbeat? There's like a reset, and he's listening. And he comes in on the downbeat. That was perhaps the only thing that was interesting during this part. Nothing really much to add.
I mean, it's a good drum pattern. I do like to play that drum pattern. It's a freeform jam, blues jam basically, and it gives lots of room for if the bass follows what you're doing on the drums like it should do, it gives loads of room for soloing because you just fill up all the rhythmic section, so the guitar doesn't have to play any rhythm, or if they do, they just have to give you big open chords. So it means the bass is doing all the lead work. So it's actually a good thing to do. I'm going to play you from minutes 3 to minute 6 now. So I'm going to give you the last 3 minutes of the song, and then we'll talk about the whole song and our overall thoughts about it. Okay, so we do go in at minutes 3. We get a bit of a tempo change up, which I thought was good. It was needed. It's got a cool riff in that section, but again, it's a Sabbath riff. And guess what? Sabbath did those sort of change ups as well. If you could probably go through, I think on Masters of Reality, I think there's a song that does it, and there's a bit of a change up like that.
Yeah.
So again, they've literally just gone through the Black Sabbath playbook of riff ideas and song structures, thrown that in there. I have to be honest, at 4-minute section, I checked out. I was just like, okay, I'm not going to get anything new here, am I? There's not going to be anything original in this one. So I was just waiting for something to be something new to happen. And in that last minute, we did get a nice bass line going on. I thought what he was playing on the bass was really interesting. So that was good. For me, I had to think about the time. So we're talking about 1992. Sabbath was not well, they were active, but they weren't active in the Aussie era concept at this point. I can't remember who the singer was at this point because they kept changing. But you got to remember, Sabbath had throughout the 80s had gone classic metal. So their style was not this anymore. They were not really, they would still do their Iron Man and stuff live, but what they were writing and new material that they were putting out was not this early Sabbath sound. So if you wanted a band that sounded like early Sabbath, this would probably be a great way of doing it, because you're not going to get an Ozzy Osbourne Sabbath at this point in the early 90s. So it did feel a live genre, and it gave people hope that they'd get some new material from an early sounding Sabbath. So it did fill a particular void. But from an album point of view, would I bother buying an album for it? I mean, if I liked early Sabbath and watching them live, I'd probably go and watch this live if I was big into that. But I wouldn't buy this album because it doesn't add anything new. I'd just go and get some early Sabbath albums. I'll get Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and go, "No, I've got that. Why do I need this?" Andy.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of second half of the song, there are some sort of good riffs. There's a sort of extended instrumental section where it's just a guitar playing on its own with a bit of a sort of drum beat behind it. At 4.5 minutes, there's sort of a solo, and sort of towards the end, there's a sort of psychedelic bass passage which I really liked as well. But sort of notably throughout the whole video, they like showing off what amps they're using, don't they? There's long lingering shots of the amps. You know, they're obviously on a Laney contract or something, because product placement almost, isn't it? But it was a good track, but it wasn't anything that I wasn't expecting from a band called Sleep that I haven't heard before, but it's exactly what I expect. As you say, Kirk, you said Sabbath worship. Dave, you said if you want to listen to this, just check out the earlier albums, but there are some interesting parts. It's just certainly not original. But there's obviously a market for that, because there's a raft of bands who sound exactly the same. You know, it's sort of well documented that you know, bands are described as Sabbath clones or Sabbath worship, which just goes to show what an amazing band they were, and what they did for heavy metal music starting from the late 60s, wasn't it, throughout the 70s and on.
Yeah.
But people are still replicating that in modern times.
Yeah, I love those first 6 Black Sabbath albums, but this, you're right, it's offering nothing new. There is the noisy finger tapping solo at 4 minutes 40, got my attention, but it's actually, the bass underneath is what stood out for me, and that's probably what I would be listening to a lot in this, because you're right though, even Geezer Butler was doing a lot of tasteful, scale runs, wasn't he, in his bass playing. I think if we look at this, they were on Earache Records in 1992. Now Cathedral are cited as bringing back doom metal. I know, Andy, we will both
much
say
more interesting.
Candlemass probably are the ones that make it a thing, especially with an album called Epicus Doomicus Metallicus. Earache, even though they've signed grindcore bands like Napalm Death and the early Carcass material and Morbid Angel, they're also signing up doom metal. So it's having a resurgence, and even grunge has an impact on that, because Sabbath are a big influence on Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. But I just don't think there's anything to go back to. One thing I should say, we were talking about his vocals. I think he's using a flanger effect on his voice, which you would normally use on guitar. Scott Hill from Fu Manchu did that quite often around this time as well. But if let's be honest, this song it's just forgettable. There's nothing here to make me come back to it. Can you imagine a whole album of this? Fucking hell. You know,
60 minutes plus, I'd imagine.
So again, Andy.
I'd imagine they're sort of 60, 70 minutes long, the Sleep album.
Put you to sleep. That's what it'll do.
Okay, there we go. Sleep and Dragonaut. Were we out of order? Were we wrong about this? Tell us what is the redeeming factor of Sleep. Did they change over the time? I don't know. Why did we have to go all the way back to 1992's Dragonaut to find something about them? I don't know. Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.